Mayday, 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 no power, no thrust going down. That was the last thing Sumit Savarwal, the pilot of the ill-fated Air India flight, communicated to the ATC. Then there was no further communication. Within 1.5 minutes of taking off from the Ahmedabad airport, they went down. What really went wrong? The black box has been recovered from the tail end of the crashed aircraft from the hostel mess of the BJ Medical College. That black box is being scrutinized to see if there's any further detail, any cockpit conversation between the two pilots which can shed more light as to what really happened. There have been questions raised on whether the landing gear was not retracted, whether there was any kind of distraction, also whether the wing flaps were wrongly withdrawn. So was this a human error? That's also something that a lot of aviation experts are suggesting. But if you go towards the crash sites, there is in the Meghani Nagar area, there's a lot of slum clusters, also the Gujarat Housing Board residential area, low-lying accommodations there. Eyewitnesses in that particular locality can't thank the pilot enough because they feel that the open air.
There was a pilot. There's plenty of pilots who have already come out doing their analysis of what happened during this crash. Some people were saying it appeared his landing gear were down way too long past the time he took off, and his flaps, the flaps on the wings of the aircraft, if you drop them down like this, it gives you a lot more lift, but it gives you a lot of drag as well. So it'll slow you down. So you can, if you're heavy like these guys are, they're saying they had full fuel probably because they got to make this journey that they're about to take. So they were loaded up with fuel, loaded up with passengers. The flap configuration was set to 1 or 0. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. But the flap configuration was set for takeoff, which means they had the flaps set to give them lift to get off the ground. Once you get up in the air, you're supposed to retract those flaps so it's not creating a lot of drag on your wings, which slows you back down.
Okay.
Right? That's just trust me, I'm an idiot, but just bear with me, right? Then the landing gear, I heard, didn't look like the landing gear ever was retracted. The landing gear will also cause a lot of drag on the aircraft. You're supposed to retract those as soon as you're up in the air at a certain altitude, quickly retract them. Gives you a lot more streamlined of a craft. You can gain altitude and whatever else. So some people were saying maybe it was pilot negligence, but there's also a video.
Is he like a seasoned pilot though?
We don't know. He might have been having, electronic issues where he couldn't do those things, right?
It wouldn't work.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people were saying, in the comments that there's people who were on the aircraft who were filming before the crash, and they were saying that they had no air conditioning, none of the phones worked on their seats, the tablets on the back of the seats, none of them worked. So there was something mechanically wrong with this aircraft on the ground. And in the comments of that video that I watched, people were saying, yeah, I flew on Air India like a couple of years ago or a year ago, and none of their things were working either. It just didn't feel like the aircraft was well maintained. So there's issues with, it seems like maintenance issue with this aircraft.
Yeah, check the fuse box.
Right. Reset the fuse.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Flip the breaker.
There's just like a couple fuses that needed to be replaced. Wouldn't that be wild?
Bro, that would be nuts. Let's just listen to a little more of this, but then I want to get to the interview with the one, I believe he's the only survivor.
Just next to the BJ Medical College is what the pilot targeted when he realized that he had no thrust, no power, and the plane was crashing. The only thing left for him to do then was to look for minimum casualties on the ground when his plane crash landed.
Crazy.
So these eyewitnesses in the Meghani Nagar area next to the BJ Medical College feel that the pilot did his best to avoid the residential buildings as well as the Ahmedabad Civil Hospital and instead land the aircraft in that open area. As luck would have it, there was a hostel mess right next to that open area, that field, and the plane's tail crashed into that hostel mess, killing at least 4 people. And then the rest of the aircraft landed along with its fuel tank towards Atulya 1, 2, 3 and 4. These were the staff quarters where the doctors, postgraduate as well as super specialty doctors along with their family members lived. In this staff quarter, the fuel tank exploded. 1.25 lakh liters of aeronautical fuel just went up, burning everything in their way, killing a number of people in these staff quarters as well.
I'm not going to watch all the video just for the sake of time. You guys can watch these on your own. But it's terrible to hear that. And now
Well, the
we're going to listen now to see the interview that they did with the guy who survived this plane crash.
What was the situation yesterday? Can you describe for us, please?
I can't explain. Everything happened in my eye. I can't.
How did you manage to escape?
I just.
Did you pull the
He
emergency
doesn't
doors?
know.
No.
Huh?
He doesn't
Emergency door
know.
is broken.
Yeah.
My seat is broken.
Yeah.
Then I see the page little bit.
Yeah.
Then I will try to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So, did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes.
Okay.
Little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
First
It's-
of all, this guy looks phenomenal.
For like everybody else is charred and he just like
We saw the fireball.
stumbled out.
Right? Yeah, we saw that fireball. Plane went down in the middle of it, crashed straight into a bunch of apartment buildings or some kind of hospital complex. And he doesn't even look like he's burned it all. His hair is nicely combed. His
arms
skin
maybe.
looks great. He's got a couple of bruises. This is like what you would think, like you see someone crash
boxer.
in a movie, right? You see like somebody crash in a movie and they just come out of the plane. You're like, you would never survive that. This is what happened. I'm like, oh my God, he actually survived. How? I don't know.
You should have like 3rd, 4th degree burns.
He
like,
should be cooked.
yeah.
Because not only, it's like, I understand maybe you survived the crash, right? But then the whole plane engulfed in flames and a large area around the plane is engulfed in flames. So how did you get away from all of this and look like that? You got to have an angel, bro. Like,
He's
what?
definitely got to be. If he wasn't religious, he is now, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
Somebody saved him for a reason.
Yeah.
Did anybody help you, or you after that you came out on your own? How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
Okay.
Then ambulance coming in.
You did walk out on the building or
No, in floor.
on the floor?
Yes. Inside the aeroplane.
Only there.
Yeah.
So, and you managed to get into the ambulance there? What did Prime Minister tell you? What was the conversation?
He's just asking me, everything is okay, innit? That's it.
You're feeling better now.
Yes.
And where your family? Where's your family? Are there people?
Everybody's in London.
Okay. The whole family is in
Yes. Me and my brother staying in India last 9 months. And yesterday I was going to back to London. And it happened everything there.
How do you feel that you've survived this kind of?
I can't explain. It's miracle everything.
You made it 90 seconds in the air and that was it. Crazy. I've heard.
It's crazy that was what happened.
Right? You think you're safe, right? You get on.
Like, I feel like you could still crash land at that point of the flight and be okay. That's what I thought.
Not when you're full of fuel, though, and you crash into a building.
I guess. But
They
why
were
is there
full
a
of
building
fuel.
right by the airport?
That's something somebody brought up in a comment. They're like, why are they allowed to build airports right in the middle of a city? You literally get off the runway and there's nothing but houses down below you. That should not ever be the case.
Shouldn't there be
It
like
should be
extras?
fields?
Yeah, just in case something like that
Yeah,
happens.
and it does.
All the time.
Well, yeah, it happens. Yeah, a lot. It's like, why are there houses all around the airport? You guys need to build them somewhere the hell else, because this is dangerous. Because, yeah, maybe if the pilot had taken off and there had been nice smooth fields down in front of him for at least a couple of miles, he could have still brought it back down and maybe landed safely on a field somewhere.
Maybe it's so broke apart, people got injured, but not everybody does.
Sure, but if they maintain it, like they just keep like, I don't know, some kind of hard surface, just a good level field or something, he probably could have done better than what they did. What a shame. You just crashed right into a building. 90 seconds out? Come on.
I wonder if you could make like the fuel tanks on a plane more like
No, dog.
to where like they can't blow up like that right away.
The engineers have already thought of these things, man. It's the only way to do that is to dump fuel, and I'm sure they didn't have time to even try that. You could dump fuel.
Could you mix something into the fuel to make it non-explosive?
Yeah, it would also make it non-combustible for your motor.
No, but I'm saying like
Engine.
there's a separate tank and say something like that happens, you hit a switch, you're like, you know you're going to go down.
Just
and it
flushes the
floods
tank with
into
water.
it. Yeah. So it
Yep.
makes it like uncombustible or like something can't happen.
Yeah, you could. I bet. But the issue with that is you'd have to always carry around that fluid, and that's extra weight. And they try to save on weight down to the last gallon.
Well, okay, carry less passengers.
Oh, man, then we're going to go out of business.
Well, you want more flights.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Charge more.
Maybe there's
I
a
mean,
way.
there's ways. People are going to fly regardless.
Maybe there's a way to do it. I don't know.
There's got to be.
You would think so, right?
It's not cost effective, though.
No, it's not. And that's why they keep blowing up like this. Because we don't learn our lessons.
Yeah,
man.
not getting on a plane for a while, bro.
We're not supposed to be flying around. If God wanted us to fly, we'd have wings, bro. No, aircrafts they're still safe technically, okay? You know, be your own judge of that as you fly, but these tragedies do happen, and it's just a constant reminder. The sucky part about an airplane versus like a car crash or something like that is you're up in the air. You just have no control. You know, you have no options. You just have to sit in your seat and let it, like at least in the car, when it's all happening, I can steer and I can say I did everything I could. In the airplane, I got to rely
Now
on
you're
the
falling.
2 dudes up front. And what if they're idiots? You know?
Even if you're the pilot, if something happens, like there's nothing you're going to do.
Right. It sucks. It just
You're just going to have to
sucks.
crash the plane.
Yeah.